Hello, friends, to this second part of the discussion, what we started on Bhartiye Drishti, Indian way of thinking and perception, part second. So here we will try to discuss about the another part of perception and how the Indians think what is Bhartiya Drishti towards the idea of God, perceiving God. So, in different time periods, the concept of Brahma or concept of God have been changing, but they are in consensus, in continuity. It doesn't happen that one idea perishes and another emerges. That was all in continuity and in relation to one another. So, during Rig Vedic period, we find the idea of 33 types of God, 33 crore, 33 koti Devi Devta, power of sacred speech, that is Vak, ritual energy, and paganism, pagan worship was there. The objects of nature were considered as controlled by Brahma, that superpower. And Brahmana period, that is Brahman Granth, they just give emphasis on knowledge of rituals, priestly authority, and then come to the Upanishadic idea, the ultimate reality, universal consciousness, and they just discard the overemphasis on ritualism and then just establish that Brahm is ultimate reality and it is without any form, it is just the pure consciousness. And then what Vedanta says, they establish the two types of ideas about Brahm, that is Nirgun, he is formless, or Sagun, he is personal Brahma who has the attributes. Later concept of Shankaracharya, Madhavacharya, and Ramanujacharya, they established the Dvaitva, Shuddha Dvaitva, and so on. And then Bhagavad Gita gives the idea that God takes incarnation for the re-establishment of dharma. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So that idea comes from Bhagavad Gita, and on that idea, the incarnation of Lord Vishnu that and incarnation of Lord Shiva. These ideas change the very perception towards God, and then the concept of Trimurti also developed in Indian tradition. Cyclical cosmic functions of creation is associated with Brahma, and preservation with Vishnu, and the dissolution or the destruction with Shiva. That is generator, organizer, and destroyer, God. So there is a concept of Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. This idea also flourished. Then cross-cultural impact when India came in contact of different other communities, religions, philosophies, and political, cultural system, spiritual system, so on. So further, other ideas also became the part of Indian knowledge traditions, like tribal gods or spiritual enlightenment, yoga sadhana, Sufi fanafillah, Islamic monism, Christian trinity, Sikhism, and other ideas of worship, rituals, and realization. So they all form the very drishti or very perception towards the spiritual nature of God or the philosophical nature of God. So gradually these ideas were developed. Now Srimad Bhagavad Gita also developed the three ways of reaching towards this idea of God. One way may be through Gyan Yoga, that is cognitive development, another through Bhakti Yoga, or by the ways of devotion, that is emotional development, or the work and service, through work and service, that is Karma Yoga or the psychomotor development. So these are on the one hand the spiritual aspects, on the other hand, they are the psychological aspects. So Bhagavad Gita is also a book of psychology sometimes, apart from a book of religion, spirituality, and philosophy. Indian ideas also reflect the nature of God. God as Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. And God takes incarnation, the nine incarnations of Lord Vishnu. And Shakta Sampradaya, the god as Shakti, Devi Durga, and its nine rupas. And in Shaiva Sampradaya also, Lord Shiva is considered to take the 29 incarnations to Lakuli, Shvashupad, etc. So, in the old adage from Rig Veda, Ekam Sad Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, Atma, Paramatma, different thoughts, Nirakar, Sakar, different thoughts, but they all reflect the same God, same Brahma. So, truth is one, and intellectuals manifest it in many dimensions and many ways. How philosophy shapes the perception. It refers to the ideology. and its influence on social practices. It also shapes the perception, attitude, and vision of a society. Philosophical ideas shape how people understand the world and their purpose within it. It helps to form point of view. Philosophy defines and describes way of life, that is Jivan Drishti. For example, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Vishwakarma, or we all celebrate Guru Purnima in religious, social, and economic life of Indians. These god and goddesses are very important. Then all is well that ends well is one of the philosophical idea that most of the people follow. Our cinema, literature, end with happiness. In one of the popular movies of Shah Rukh Khan, he says, "हमारी फिल्मों की तरह हमारी जिंदगी में भी एंड तक सब कुछ ठीक हो जाता है. हैप्पी एंडिंग होना जरूरी है. If it doesn't happen, then Shah Rukh Khan says in the same movie, picture abhi baki hai mere dost." So Ananda is bliss. Anandvas, the Indian philosophy begins with the sorrow, but it ends in Anandvad. In the same way, our literature, our movies, our society, our perception, they all require the end should be in happiness. Various practices, beliefs, proverbs, and daily routine, motto, adages in various professions reflect Bhartiya Drishti. So we can see this Bhartiya Drishti in our day-to-day actions. For example, certain mottos, certain adages in our professions we often use. Here you see that Supreme Court of India uses this term, yato dharmastu jaya. Yato dharmastu jaya means where there is righteousness, there is victory. That comes from the Shanti Parv of Mahabharata. This is the motto of the judiciary. In the same way, if you go to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, you see that one adage is written there, Sharir Magham Khalum Dharma Sadhanam. Sharir ही धर्म का पहला और उत्तम साधन है. That adage come from Kumar Sambhav, one of the books written by Kalidas. The body is the first and the best instrument of religion. That comes from Kumar Sambhav. So, philosophical adages, philosophical statements come from the scriptures, religion, and they become the guiding force of our actions. That is the Bharatiya Drishti. Another is you see in the national emblem, it is written Satyamev Jayate. That comes from Mundakopanishad. Satyamev Jayate Nanritam Satyam Param Dhimahi. Truth alone triumphs, not falsehood. Through truth, divine path is established. So national emblem uses only the first two words, Satyamev Jayate, Satya ki Vijay hoti. That comes from Mundaka Upanishad. In the same way, many universities of India, almost all the universities of India, they use certain words or adages to define their philosophy. If you just see the symbol or the motto of your own university, the logo of your own university, you will find that something is written there in any of the languages. Whether state university, they follow their regional languages, national universities, either in English or in Sanskrit or in Arabic and Persian and so on. But some motto should be there. In the same way, Charaveti, Charaveti. That is the term that comes from the Mundakopanishad, Atharveda. Keep moving forward. Chalte raho, chalte raho. That is the motivational line of Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, Rohilkhand University. And another is, you may see the logo on my head. This is the logo of my university, Aligarh Muslim University. It is written in the Arabic, Allam al Insana ma lam yalam. That comes from the Holy Quran. He taught men what he knew not. So these adages, these statements come from different sources of philosophy, scriptures, religious books, or the traditions, and so on. They define how we have to look, they define our action orientation, they define our way of thinking and working in that way. This is one of the ways of Bharatiya Drishti. Some guiding reckoners in Indian society may be from Bhagavad Gita, you see Paritranaయ Sadhunam Vinashaya Cha Dushkritam, for the protection of the good, for the destruction of the wicked. I found this shloka of Bhagavad Gita in one of the police stations written on the wall. So it defines their way of action. And obviously, if you see the functioning of the police department, that is very much associated with this Shloka Bhagavad Gita, that they protect the good and they are for the destruction of the wicked. Wicked means not the people wicked, rather what Mahatma Gandhi says, कि बुराई का नाश करो, बुरे का नहीं. So this is the philosophy of Indian actions and Indian way of thinking, that Vinashaya cha Dushkritam. Then in hospitals, often you will find this is written on the walls of government hospitals or private hospitals sometimes. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu. That come from the Upanishads. In the same way, Ano Bhadra Kratvo Yantu Vishvata, let noble thoughts come from all directions. Ekam Sadvipra Bahuda Vadanti, Sarvam Dukkham, that comes from Mahatma Buddha. And Yava Jivet Sukham Jivet, Ranam Kratva Ghram Vivet. That is also one of the aspects of Indian philosophy, that is materialism, that comes from the Charvaka. That is also the part of our way of looking at the phenomena and world. Brahm Satyam Jagat Mithya. God is reality, world is religion, Shankaracharya. So these all are the guiding reckoners of our actions and thinking in our day-to-day life. There are three phases of thought building. One comes from the diverse philosophical movements, like from heterodox schools, Bhakti or Sufi traditions. Another is the cross cultural synthesis. These movements promoted cross cultural dialogue, blending indigenous Indian thought with ideas from different religions and other religious traditions. And third one come from modernism and colonial impact beyond medieval era. Rational thought, scientific temper, technology, travelogues, machines, global influence, and when India got independence, our Indian constitution. This is also one of the a strong source of thought building. Then holistic reflections, like we all have discussed it, and one truth, many ways to search. These are the different ways how Indian society thinks, how the thought of Indian society and Indian people are guided by Gurukul system, Chaitanya's Kirtan, Buddha's seminaries, Baul's Munir Manush. This is one of the spiritual traditions of Bengal, and Sufi whirling, that is the medieval Sufism, and then Baba Nanak the Langar, that also emerged during medieval period. So they are just few examples of the composite culture of Indian knowledge traditions. So many thousands of cultures are from north to south and east to west are there. Like we have not mentioned the Thirukural, we have not mentioned the Shankar Dev, we have not mentioned the Sant Tukaram, and so on. The Kashmiri Shaivism is there, Rishi Parampara of Sufi system in Lalde, one of the women saints, Andal in South India. So many traditions. It's not possible to discuss all that. So these are just few examples how these traditions just steer our thought. And philosophical foundations of Indian thinking are basically based on certain ideas like Atma and Brahma, the inner spiritual principle. Holistic view of knowledge, that is Vidya, comes from the Panch Koshas. Vidya itself is divided in Para and Apara. We all have discussed in detail. Vidya has three-dimensional meanings: specialized knowledge, arts or skills, or sacred knowledge. So, in that perspective, we have different types of views. Components of Bhartiya Drishti, the way we perceive through this table, you may understand. Uh, if we just look at the first characteristic is holistic view. Explanation is life viewed as interconnected. And for example, Ayurveda, body, mind, and spirit. There is a unity between. So this is the holistic view towards the life. And inner experiences, another basis of our Bhartiya Drishti. Truth realized through personal introspection. Experiential learning is very important. It plays very important role, yeah, like yogic meditation. Another characteristic is value centered. Bharatiya Drishti is value centered. Emphasis on dharma, that is right conduct. Bhagavad Gita's and ethics and the epics, values from the epics. Then another characteristic is harmony with nature. Nature as divine presence, that is Prakriti. Sacred groves, river, worship, because this is also the part of Indian tradition and Bharatiya Drishti that Prakriti manifests itself in the three gunas, Sato, Rajo, and Tamas. So, in these three guna in qualities, we also think in according to these three gunas. We just consider the phenomena or the person or the event, one of the associated to one of the three gunas. Community orientation, individual linked to community and cosmos, joint family system, and we just take care of all. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So, Kutum is the whole word is the Kutum. So that's why family is the unit of society in in Indian traditions, and family has very important part of Indian knowledge traditions in that sense that it is the family that is considered as the first school of the child from Indian viewpoint, from Bhartiya Drishti. So community orientation, the kutum, the village, the gaon, the pluralism in the form of that we are associated with each other, and that's why the Indian Constitution also begins with the word "We the people of India." So this is the community orientation is one of the important aspects, components of Bharatiya Drishti. Then spiritual humanism, humanity grounded in spiritual dignity, like Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. Then another other aspect is concept of dharma and ethical foundation. Dharma means duty, order, righteousness, and harmony. You see that the very important source of dharma is Srimad Bhagavad Gita, where it is defined in its fullest form. It sustains social and cosmic balance. From the Mahabharata, we find the actual meaning and interpretation of the term dharma. Dharmo rakshati rakshita. Dharma protects those who protect it. That also comes from the Mahabharata's principles for dharma. And another idea of dharma comes from the Buddhism. Ashok used this Dharma Chakra Parvartan, what is one of the symbols of Buddhism, in his national emblem. These pictures comes from the national emblems, and the reference is also given the original loin capital of Ashoka from Sarnath on your right hand, and it originally supported a large Dharma chakra on the top that comes from the Sachi Sput chakra. So, dharma is represented in the form of a chakra, is 24 hours, it's moving, and it controls the ethical system, ethical order of this entire universe. So, dharma provides moral direction and integrity of action, linking education with character formation. So, this is one of the very important components that guide the Bharatiya Drishti. And certain other unities like Vedic and Upanishadic thought that say about the pedagogical unity, the way we earn the knowledge, the way we acquisite the knowledge, emphasis on dialogue, inquiry, learning, through questioning. Then Darshana, philosophical unity, six classical schools, Nyaya, Vaisheshik, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, they all say the different ideas, different reflections on epistemology and axiology and metaphysics, but they are one in their philosophical unity. In the same way, they encourage intellectual diversity. Another is the epics and Puranas. They are the reflections of moral and social unity. The Ramayana and Mahabharata teach practical ethics, leadership, responsibility, and compassion. Then Bhakti and Sufi traditions reflect the spiritual unity, promotes love-centered, inclusive spiritual understanding. Saints like Kabir, Nanak, Chaitanya, Meera, Nizamuddin Aulia, and so on. They emphasize the divine is present in all things, all human beings, even in the animals and trees. Then coexistence of contradictory thought, intellectual unity. That is, we find that materialism, nihilism, skepticism, Atmavad, Anatmavad, at the same time, all ideas are existing in Indian philosophy. On the one hand, there is Charvak, on the other hand, there is Mahatma Buddha and Jainism, and also the Vedantic philosophy of asceticism. Concept of God, even we find this intellectual unity, pluralism, dualism, monism, Nirgun, and Sagun Brahma. All kinds of thought are existing at the same point. Language and culture, this reflects the linguistic unity. The content, the essence, the reality are same, but the medium of reflection of this unity may be varied forms of languages like Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, Persian, Urdu, Tamil, Bangla. All literature in all these languages reflect the same social values, spiritual thought, and moral obligations. Then faith and ritual, the religious unity we find in spite of different ways of worship and ritualistic practices. Indians have mutual respect for each other's faith and religious practices. Then patriotism and nationalism, there is a national unity, a common patriotism and submission to the national unity and integrity, irrespective of religion, region, language, ethnicity, caste, creed, culture, and so on. So that reflects the constitutional supremacy. So these are the basis or the parameters that design and form and reform the Bharatiya Drishti. Even we can have some examples from the Sufis and saints. You see that Hindi ki pehli ghazal Sant Kabir ne kahi. This is the literature aspect, is another very mesmerizing aspects of Indian knowledge traditions. Kabir says, Haman hai ishq mastana, Haman ko hoshyari kya, रहें आजाद या जग में हमन दुनिया से यारी क्या, जो बिछड़े हैं प्यारे से भटकते दर बदर फिरते, हमारा यार है हम में हमन को इंतजारी क्या. So in that way you see that the reflections of Indian idea of spirituality is in disseminated in different forms, whether it's poetry, whether it's music, whether it's dance. Again, you see Amir Khusro, one of the ambassadors of Indian unity, spirituality, love, and Indian culture. बहुत कठिन है डगर पनघट की, कैसे मैं भर लाऊं मधवा से मटकी. And another is Amir Khusro's concept in Persian. You see, kafir ishkam musalmani mara darkar neist, har rage man tare gashta hajate zunnar neist. So in Persian, he uses the Indian symbols of Yagyopavit, of Brahman, that is the Brahman's garland, or some other symbols like Sindoor or Chudiya, bangles. Amir Khusro uses these Indian symbols and reflect the spiritual essence of his poetry. In the same way, Shah Abdul Latif, he sings the songs of the yogis. The yogis pack their bags with hunger and prepare themselves for oblivion or bliss. And Shah Abdul Latif was one of the companions of the Hatha yogis, and he used to roam here and there with the yogis, and he used to practice the meditation and so on. So he was well versed in yogic practices. And Bulle Shah, one of the legendary Sufi poet of Bengal, he sings the songs of Punjab, not Bengal, of Punjab, Bulle Shah. Neither Hindu nor Mussalman, let us sit and spin, abandoning the pride and religion, either Sunni nor Shia. I have taken the path of peace and unity. So Bulle Shah is famous for his songs of love, spiritual unity, humanity, and harmony, and so on. They all just reframe the Indian knowledge traditions. And again, during 18th, 17th, 19th centuries, you see that Urdu developed as a language of the common masses. It is known as the Rekhta and Hindustani. One of the important poets of Urdu, Mir Taqi Mir, before Mirza Ghalib, he says, उसके फरोगे हुस्न से झमके है सब में नूर, शम में हरम हो या के दिया सोमनाथ का. Another is the Nazir Akbar Abadi, यारो सुनो ये दधी के लुटैया का बालपन, और मधुपुरी नगर के बसैया का बालपन, मोहन स्वरूप निरत करैया का बालपन, बन बन के ग्वाल गाएं चरैया का बालपन, ऐसा था बांसुरी के बजैया का बालपन, क्या क्या कहूँ मैं किशन कन्हैया का बालपन. So the poet is Nazir Akbar Abadi. You can have a glimpse of such poetry only. Now, again, Nida Fazli says, the modern poet, recently he died in 2016. He says, Vrindavan ke Krishna Kanhaiya Allahu, Bansi Radha Gita Gaiya Allahu, थोड़े तिनके थोड़े दाने थोड़ा जल, एक ही जैसी हर गौरैया अल्लाहू, मौलवियों का सजदा पंडित की पूजा, मजदूरों की हैया हैया अल्लाहू. So the essence of Indian ethos and knowledge traditions are best reflected in these lines of Allama Iqbal, that comes from that are reflected from the fundamental duties of Indian Constitution, and the ultimate source is the Constitution of India. So I will recite and I will end this with these beautiful lines. मजहब नहीं सिखाता आपस में बैर रखना, हिंदी हम वतन है हिंदुस्तान हमारा, यूनानो मिस्र रोमा सब मिट गए जहाँ से, अब तक मगर है बाकी नामो निशा हमारा, कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जमा हमारा, सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. So these are some suggested books. These four books are sufficient to go through all we have discussed so far. I am leaving you with these beautiful lines of Mahatma Gandhi. A nation's culture resides in the hearts and in the soul of its people. So I am leaving you with this best wishes and congratulations on becoming part of this lifelong journey. God bless you. Take care and see you again. Thank you very much.